decided to challenge the God of Israel on national TV. And as soon as he got done challenging the God of Israel, he died from a heart attack on the spot. You can't tell me that's a coincidence. That the man is talking crazy about Yahweh and said that Israel will suffer the wrath of Allah and died. Don't believe me, roll the clip.
Kurtulsanız vicdan azabından kurtulamayacaksınız. Vicdan azabından kurtulsanız tarihin azabından kurtulamayacaksınız. Tarihin azabından kurtulsanız Allah'ın gazabından kurtulamayacaksınız. Hepinizi saygıyla selamlıyorum.
Birleşime 20 dakika ara veriyorum.
I would venture to say maybe this is one of those biblical examples where you find out which God is real, right? You challenge Yahweh to lift up the wrath of Allah and you die. That to me tells me that maybe, just maybe, Yahweh is the true God and Allah is not. Maybe. Some people may say he was a prophet and he gave his last speech and then Allah took him to meet the virgins. But I would venture off to say that that's kind of serious. For you to challenge Israel in a way like that, and after you make the declaratory challenge to say that they cannot escape the torment of history and the wrath of Allah, and he go, block, and the spirit left him. It reminds me of Ananias and Sapphira when they were talking to the apostles, and they supposedly sold something, but they lied and they didn't sell something. And he said, you didn't lie to me, but you lied to the Holy Ghost. And it says that the spirit left them, like they died, right on the spot for lying to God. Now, I know a lot of people lie to God all day long and they don't die, but this was one of those situations where I think people need to start paying attention. God sent these people back to Israel. The things that the Jews are experiencing and the things that the Jews have accomplished are prophetic things. You cannot stop the Jewish people for returning back to the land that God had already made out for them. And anybody getting in the way of that, I think they are going to face the wrath of God. That's why nobody's been able to defeat Israel since they've been in the region, since they made their comeback. And I honestly believe it. And people may say I'm biased because I believe the Bible, but it's their land. And they have made the land flourish. Now, is every Jewish person a good person? No. Is every Jew following the Torah? No. Some of them probably out there cutting up. But generically speaking, or generally speaking, when you talk about God's promise to certain people that uphold his laws and principles, there is a reward.
Then he planned a woman sharing a pretty deep revelation about how the Garden of Eden can actually be speaking about something deeper that has to do with our body. Check it out.
And on one of the first sessions of the class, I saw a picture of a neuron for the first time. Everybody know what a neuron is? A neuron is a nerve cell. It is the building block of those thoughts that you love. And so one day I was learning this thing in class. I looked at this neuron and it blew me away. Can you guys show me that slide? On the left is a neuron. On the right is a seedling. Neuron, seedling. Now I believe Romans 1:20 says that which may be known of God is clearly seen, being understood by the things that he made. And so if my Bible is true and every man be a liar, then God had to have been intentional, having made plants on the third day and us on the sixth day. Either God accidentally reused the mold, he got bored, he got distracted, or for some reason he chose for my neurons to look like plants. Every single day of creation is insight into how we are biologically constructed. Every day. And on the third day, he made plants, which taught us about our minds. Not only did he plant a garden for us, he planted a garden within us. There's billions of these plants all over your body. And when I saw that, I got so excited because, like all of you, I wanted some revelation about the mind. Yes, God, tell me, you getting ready to show me something about the mind. And the Holy Spirit says, slow down. Where is the plant planted? You're so concerned with the plant, but where's the plant planted? And so that's when God showed me in the parable of the sower that Jesus calls the soil the heart. But then he showed me something else in the body, because we talk about the heart as a metaphor and our emotions. But then he showed me, go look at the heart. Can you show me the next slide? There it is. In Genesis chapter 2, we get a little recap of creation, and it says that God created man. He formed man in Eden, and then he planted him, put him in a garden, planted eastward in Eden. He formed him in Eden, then put him in the garden. He wasn't formed in the garden. Now, everybody put your left arm out. That's the east side of your body. Now put your hand on your heart. And the Lord planted a garden eastward in Eden. And then it says that a river flowed into the garden to water it. And that when the river left the garden, it broke into 1, 2, 3, 4 rivers. Oh, they can tell me what they want to in biology class. They can tell me it don't have nothing to do with religion. But my God made me with his fingers. He planted the garden eastward in Eden. This is your heart. The Holy of Holies and the temple that you are is your heart.
Wow. Now,
how much does the earth cost? I'm going to buy the entire earth and be king.
What would you do if you were the leader of the free world?
I'm going to take the smartest people on the planet and make them work on mechanical bees. You know, everyone making negative comments. The bees go get them.
Like, what? I lost you there. Explain that. What do you mean by that?
I've envisioned and will manifest mechanical bees.
So my question is, what is wrong with you? Things you're saying are crazy.
Are you serving man? Or are you serving the one and only master?
Who?
Me. What can you give me? What can you do for me?
I think it's crazy. Have you always been this way? You should talk to a doctor about this.
Satanist reveals that Christmas is actually pagan.
Out here who think that Christmas is the original holiday at this time of year, and we kind of gently, I know Frank and I kind of gently nudge our Christian friends and say, just remember, you got all this stuff from us because we started this. The tradition of Santa actually comes from the tradition of the Oak King and the Holly King. And Santa is actually the Holly King who dies at this time of year and gives way to the Oak King to bring back the springtime, because the Oak King reigns during the spring and summer and the Holly King reigns during the fall and winter. And so Santa's ride is kind of his passing the hat off to the Oak King for the spring and summer. This is a very pagan holiday because it is. Also, the Christmas tree, our Christmas tree, or our Yule tree as we refer to it, is a very pagan holiday, and what they're doing is bringing in the greenery into your house so that you're bringing in life and vitality and all that the evergreens represent.
A man named Muhammad was visited by a demon. He said he received a revelation from an angel. It was a demon. Galatians tells us that even if an angel from heaven should appear, if they present a gospel other than the one that is presented by the Apostle Paul, then they are to be accursed, that is a demonic counterfeit spirit. Everything God creates, Satan counterfeits. Muhammad is visited by a demon. He calls it an angel, but it's a fallen angel and it's a demon. And the demon says that he needs to begin prophesying and present to the world a new religion. The essence of Islam that comes from Muhammad is that the Hebrew scriptures are wrong, that God chose Hagar, not Sarah, and the son of promise for the Abrahamic covenant is Ishmael, not Isaac. He actually takes the story of Genesis 22 and he says that it was Ishmael who went with Abraham, and it was Ishmael who was the firstborn son of the promise, and it was Ishmael who laid down his life for his father. Islam takes all of the storyline of the Bible and it twists it so that Sarah is rejected, Hagar is accepted, Isaac is rejected, and Ishmael is accepted. And then they will say that as a result, the Abrahamic covenant belongs to the descendants, not of Isaac, and those are the Jewish people, but to the descendants of Ishmael, those are the Arabs, and the Palestinians. And they would say that is our land, and it should be our lineage, and we worship our Lord, not Jesus, but Allah.
We think that the Muslims don't even know their own religion. I think that a lot of Muslims have this idea of Islam. As a matter of fact, I think that the Muslims that join Islam have a better character and have a better personality than even Muhammad did, a moral character. I believe that you two are morally better than Muhammad is. And I can demonstrate that to you guys. If we have a real conversation, no insult or nothing, just a conversation of my observations and his observations, and we go step by step, I think we can prove that you guys are more moral than Muhammad. So like, for example, here's one of the top biggest ones. Would you guys sleep with a child? No, you would not. Would you? Tell me no. Okay. Muhammad slept with a 9-year-old girl, Aisha, his wife, his child, right? You guys heard of Aisha? They'll tell you the same thing over there. There's nothing we're ever saying is lying, right? So you guys know it. And just so that we, because we have viewers here too, can we read the hadith to make sure that we're not lying? So this is Sunnah Ibn Majah, right? I don't know if can you guys see it? Grade Sahih, the greatest Sahih. Right here. You see the grade? Grade Sahih means authentic, most highest authentic, right? It says, Abdullah said, the Prophet married Aisha when she was 7 years old and consummated the marriage with her when she was 9 years old. And he passed away when she was 18. So he had sex with her. He made the marriage finalized by having sex with her at 9 years old.
Wait, can we read it?
Yeah, go ahead if you want to. And the early Muslim scholars like Ibn Kathir and people like that, they all say that there's no disagreement among the early scholars, among the early Muslims about Aisha's age. It's only nowadays that Muslims try to hide that or combat that, which is why we're here, because they won't tell you this, but we will.
Muslims?
Muslims, they don't tell you this. When you, were you born in a Muslim family?
Yeah.
And you were too? Y'all never heard of his marriage with Aisha?
I did.
You did hear about it. Did you know she was a child?
I don't know the numbers. It's confusing. Everybody says different numbers. I don't know.
There's not a single source that ever says that she's above the age of 9 when he slept with her. Not a single hadith. Nothing authentic, nothing even da'if, nothing weak. All it is speculation from nowadays scholars trying to fix this problem because they know it's a problem.
Watch this.
Many of you have heard about the school shooting that happened in Nashville, Tennessee. There were two things that happened has not been in the news. One is when the shooter drove up to the property and got out of the parking lot, the shooter was right beside the playground. There were 50 kids on the playground. They could have opened up with that automatic weapon and killed 50 kids and not even had to break in a door. Apparently they didn't see the kids. Later that day, some of those kindergartners went home to their parents and said, "Mommy, Daddy, there was a golden dome over the playground today. And we saw angels. God hid them from view with a golden dome that the shooter couldn't see through, apparently. And angels were there to make sure the kids were okay."
Type amen. You guys were just as shocked as I was with part 1. Now, here's part 2.
In the classroom where the shooter was taken down, the officers that broke the door down and took down the shooter said when they saw her, there was a black cloud floating above her head. They took her down and immediately the black cloud dissipated. Folks, there is an unseen world. And Christians who say this has all only happened in Bible times or only happened in Africa, doesn't happen here today in an enlightened society, that's exactly what Satan wants us to believe. We need to wake up and open our eyes and reread Ephesians 6. Our real enemies are not flesh and blood. The girl doing the shooting wasn't the enemy. It was the unseen being influencing her. Keep praying, because prayer works. God loves you, and I love you.
If you like hearing this,
had a patient got stabbed in the heart. When I walked in the ER, the surgeon had his chest cracked open, and he had his finger in the guy's heart. And they pronounced him dead. He was a young man, maybe 22, 23 years old. Drug deal that went bad. He died, and the surgeon was a Christian, Dr. Forster to be exact, said, "We're not going to let him go without a fight, so he took him to the OR, took him to surgery, pumped him full of blood, got a pulse, tied the hole in his heart up with a suture, and since I was out in the surgery unit, I had to wait until he woke up. After about 4 hours, the guy woke up, and he looked me in the eye, and he grabbed me, and he started crying, sobbing, and he said, "I met the devil." And I said, "What do you mean you met the devil?" He said, "I saw you working on me. I was dead. I had never prayed." And he could feel he went straight down into hell. And he said he looked in the eyes of the devil, and he prayed. He said he never prayed before. It was never spiritual. And he said, "Please, God, I'll change my life." And he felt an angel or a hand pull him back up. And that's when he awoke. And it was the most amazing experience because he was legit. I mean, no one makes up something like that. And last I heard, he's completely changed his life. He gave his life to God. And I still, to this day, the look in his eye when he woke up, the terror, I'm absolutely convinced that he did meet the devil. And once again, I've not followed up on where he's at now, but I heard he's doing really good. And if I can get that information, I'll get it for you.
Okay. What was your reaction when the doctor told you that they were going to sew him back up? And
I thought he was crazy because the guy bled out. He was dead. There was blood on the ceiling because he got stabbed in the heart, blood all around him, and he had no pulse. He was lifeless. And the Christian doctor said, "Dr. Forster, we're going to take him and we're going to try to revive him." And it was actually miraculous because the guy was dead. He completely bled out. And you don't open someone's chest in the ER, stick your finger in a hole. That's a last-ditch effort. And I thought he was crazy, but now in retrospect, it happened for a reason. And that basically changed my whole outlook on medicine.
Wow.
It was this amazing spiritual experience, and the guy was legit. And once again, no one goes through something like that and makes that up, especially that's the first thing he said when he woke up. And by looking at the terror in his eyes, he did meet the devil. I am convinced of that.
These are the last words of this satanic high priest. He started the Satanic Church in America. He wrote books like The Satanic Bible, Satanic Rituals, The Devil's Notebook. He was convinced Satan was real and his friend. But what he saw on his deathbed terrified him. As he was lying there on his deathbed, he said these words, "Oh my, what have I done? There is something very wrong. There is something very wrong." And I believe that as he passed away, he saw the spiritual realm for the first time. He saw the demons that he had been worshipping, and they were taking him to hell, a place of eternal torment. And as he died, he realized what his eternity would be. Every one of us has a choice of where we will be spending eternity. And the only way to avoid hell is through Jesus Christ. He said, "I am the way, the truth, and the life, and no one comes to the Father except through me."
Watch this video with me. This is one of the members from ISIS having a full-blown encounter with Jesus Christ. Let's play the video.
I felt a touch on my left shoulder and a voice that says, "I forgive you." And he didn't understand. I did not understand how could that be possible? Because I heard Allah is forgiving and merciful, but we cannot know His forgiveness till the day of judgment. So I said, "Who are you that forgives me?" And I feel forgiven today. And he said, "I am the way, the truth, and the life." And I did not understand what that means because I had never heard those words. So I said, "What is your name?" And he said, "Jesus Christ, the living God." I fell on the floor.
Okay, so this is crazy. Do y'all see this bird right here? That's in my hand. This is, see, it's the watch I'm wearing. See the bird? Okay, so I don't know if anybody's going to remember, but about maybe 2 months ago, 3 months, I don't even know, I posted a dream. And in my dream, you'll have to go back and look at it. I'll try to figure out what the date was. I'll put it in my comments if I can find it. But I had a dream that I was with one of my good friends, and she's a complete atheist and doesn't believe in Jesus. Well, anyway, we were hanging out. We were just... you know, taking a walk, and then all of a sudden I got this feeling in my chest like it was time to go home, like Jesus was coming back to get us. And so I, in my head, in the dream, I said, Lord, I said, if it's time, I'm going to need a sign. So I looked up at up above me, and I saw some birds flying around, one that looked like this. And I said, Lord, if it's almost time to go, if it's almost time to get out of here, I said, you need to tell me with a sign. I said, let this bird land on me. And in the dream, the bird landed on me, and I embraced it, and then I let it go. And as soon as I let the bird go, I proceeded to tell my friend who was with me the entire gospel, like start to finish, everything. And as soon as I was done telling her the gospel, I woke up. So anyway, that was, like I said, 2 or 3 months ago. I'm going to have to go look. I'm sorry, I'm sweaty. I just got back from my walk. And it's raining. So then as I'm walking home, I see this bird, and it like came down, and it was just sitting right on the street, like right where that white line is. And it was looking at me, and I was walking close. I'm waiting for it to fly away, because clearly it can fly. It flew down there, and it wasn't moving. So I said, God, do you want me to pick it up? And of course I didn't hear God audibly say anything back, but I did. I picked it up, and this bird legit just sat on my hand and walked with me the entire way home. And when I was like 1 or 2 minutes from my house, it flew and left. And so, and what's so crazy, because I've been crying, I'm sorry, I'm a mess, but what's so crazy about this whole thing is when I was taking my walk, I was literally picturing heaven. I was picturing me on my knees, worshiping God, worshiping Christ, and then standing up and holding Christ's hand and walking through heaven with him. And I am on this walk by myself, listening to worship and just bawling my eyes out. People think I'm crazy. And then after I finally like calmed down and I was finishing up my walk, that's when this bird thing happened. And I'm telling you, it's the bird. I'm pretty sure. I mean, like I said, it was months ago, but like for my dream. And so guys, get ready. I don't know how soon it's going to be. I mean, God says a day is like 1,000 years, 1,000 years like a day, but time's ticking. Start telling everybody about Jesus. I already do. If you don't know Jesus, you want to know him, this is a huge sign, you guys. This was today. This is the bird. You can see this is my arm. This is a bracelet I'm wearing, the same exact one. And this is the wild bird that landed on me from my dream.
Gun, and I aimed it directly for my heart because I was not going to miss. I was so desperate for my pain and my suffering to end. When I pulled that trigger, I knew my body was dying. I felt the blood rushing through my lungs. Death gripped my body. I became blind. I became deaf. And as my soul left my body, I began traveling faster than the speed of light. And I began falling and falling and falling. And all of a sudden, this explosion happened on the inside of me. It was as if there was like a sulfuric type acid burn that consumed me in every way. It was so hideous and terrifying. There are no words to describe the level of pain and the type of burn that I was experiencing. It was hell. It was what the Bible describes as hell. It was the fire of hell. And when I looked around, not only was I in a place of death, but I now had become death. I was no longer in a place where there was peace. I was in a place of total torment. So the Bible describes that death is the absence of God. In the absence of God, in the absence of anything good, your soul actually transforms into a being of fear, which is the opposite of love. So my being, my person turned into a being of fear, a being of pain, a being in total isolation.
You weren't anybody else around you.
Pat, I could look out and I could see thousands, millions of people that were all around me, but I was unable to communicate with them. It was a huge sea of people. Yes, and there were many, many chambers that were all around me. And all of the people that were there were in the same formless being, screaming out in agony, in total terror, in a hideous scream. Then there was no end to it, Pat. There are no words to describe how horrific this was.
They were screaming in agony.
They were screaming in agony, and because they had become total beings of death. And that's hard for the physical mind to understand those things. But when I would look at it, I remember looking at an individual particularly, and they were as close to me as you are. And when I saw them, I knew everything about them. I knew every sin they had committed. I knew my knowledge about their life was completely full. I knew everything they had done wrong. I knew their thoughts. I knew their emotions. I knew the will. I knew everything I could think upon. My wisdom was in its fullness. But it didn't matter. It didn't matter. In that hideous state of a burning torment, the only knowledge that mattered was that Jesus Christ was Lord. And here I am in this state of agony, indescribable agony, and the only thing that mattered was that I never surrendered to the Lordship of Jesus Christ. There was so much regret and shame and guilt that I had believed a lie and that I had believed the deceit. And when I looked out across the lake, across the heavens, I could see the entire universe, Pat. And it was like the earth was magnified. And there was a mutual feeling, a mutual understanding of everyone, the thousands and millions of people that were there with me, that we did not want anyone to go where we were. We wanted people to go back to earth and warn everyone, don't believe the lie. Do not be deceived by your enemy. Do not come here. Never. And now I read the Bible and I see the Bible, how it describes hell. And I look at my experience and there are no words to describe what I experienced, Pat. You could look across the Gulf expanse and you could see heaven. You could see the peace, the joy, the love, the wholeness. And you knew you were never going to experience that because time does not exist in eternity. Time does not exist at all. And the only thing you can do is hope that no one else will come where you are. What's so amazing is God's love was so incredible that before I actually shot myself, I cried out to God to forgive me. And in that cry of desperation of forgiveness, God heard me. And He is so faithful to His word and to His promise that in my screaming and in my agony and in the revelation of what I experienced, God came down from heaven and this hand scooped me up, Pat, and picked me up. And so when this hand picked me up and took me over the vast expanse, took me over that Gulf fix, it's huge. But to God, it's just like a simple,
well, that's what Jesus said in the parable. There's a great gulf between us fixed.
Yes.
And there was a great gulf.
A great gulf, and it was of nothingness. Dark, just nothingness. And when I went over that, and I entered into God's presence, you can't describe God's presence either, but it was love. And I had now left a place of death and torment and darkness. And now I had entered into a place of love and light. And I experienced God's wholeness. I experienced His grace and His mercy. And there was unity with Christ that is indescribable. My pain was gone. My torment was gone. And I was in this presence of total wholeness. And you could see the lights, the beauty of the stones and the lights reflecting in heaven. And the very sight of them was rejuvenating and just energizing. Came back and, you know, there are, in the spiritual world, you're not confined to the restrictions of the physical world. And so I came right back into the roof of my home and they laid my body, the vessel of God laid my body back, my soul back into my body. And when He did that, I instantly could see and hear again. And I knew at that moment that I was surrendering to the Lordship of Jesus Christ.